Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's board meeting. Call this meeting to order at, looks like 6:02 p.m. I'm going to have Ms. Underhill kind of lead us while we get logged on, but welcome.
Yeah, welcome everybody. We'll go ahead and move into opening exercises with a moment of silence and the pledge. Can't remember who I called. Ms. Hill, do you want to lead the pledge for us? Okay, thank you. All right, thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to the agenda. Do any of the board members have any changes to tonight's agenda or consent agenda? No? President Sandoval?
I do not.
Okay, great. All right, then we just need to approve the agenda. Do you want to do a voice vote or?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Ms. Contra, can we do we need a motion. So I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
Okay, I'll second. And if we could just do a roll call vote. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as it's stated.
Thank you, Mrs. Underhill. President Sandoval? Mrs. Underhill?
Aye.
Dr. Sorensen?
Aye.
Mrs. Hill?
Aye.
Right. And you good? Motion passes. We'll go ahead and move on to 4 recognitions, 4.1. And I'll turn that over to Ms. Airy. Thank you.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, and guests. This winter, students from across the district competed in a spelling bee in front of their peers at each of their respective school sites. Then on January 27th, one top speller from each school competed right here in our district spelling bee. At this event, we announced 1 winner and 7 runners-up who advance to the next level. We are thrilled to share that Ethan Greenwood, a 7th grader from Coyote Hills Elementary School, won the district spelling bee in the 12th round, and he won with the word quinary. Yes? We're not going to make you respell that one, I don't think, tonight, Ethan. Following the district spelling bee, the Region 4 spelling bee took place on February 8th in Wickenburg. There were 30 students in 3rd through 8th grade who competed from school districts all over. And then in round 8, Ethan and 1 other student were the last 2 that remained, and it took until round 15 to find a champion. We are so proud to share with you that Ethan earned 2nd place in the regional competition and will advance to the Arizona State Spelling Bee on March 19th in Phoenix. Of course, we've invited Ethan, his proud family, and our principal from Coyote Hills Elementary School, Julie Abbott. I would like to ask Ethan to stand so we can give him a huge round of applause. We are so proud of you, Ethan, and in just a minute we're going to get you up front for a photo with your family, but I'd also like to recognize Mrs. Abbott, who's here tonight from Coyote Hills. Thank you for being here. And parents, we know how proud you are of Ethan. If it's all right with you, I think we took a number of photos of Ethan the day that he was here with his trophy, but we'd like to get all of you up with our superintendent, Dr. Reynolds, and snap another photo if we could. Would that be okay with you, Ethan? Okay. And board members, I can invite Ethan over in case you have any comments for him or congratulations to share. Ethan, do you want to come over here?
Thank you, Ms. Airy. Ethan, welcome, sir. Board members, questions, comments for Ethan?
Well, congratulations, Ethan. Excellent job. You've done PUSD very proud. We're very excited for you and happy to hear that you're going to be moving on to the next level, and we're going to be excited to hear how that goes. Good luck to you and congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
Ethan, what I would say that's more impressive than your ability to spell is your ability to perform in high-stress situations, and that's a skill that will serve you for the rest of your life on your path towards a fulfilling life. So just so proud of you and just jealous of your ability to perform at that level in those moments.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Ms. Underhill?
Yeah, way to go, Ethan. We are super proud of you. That takes a lot of courage, like Dr. Sorensen said, and a lot of studying, right? And congrats, Mom and Dad. That's awesome. You raised an awesome kid. So thank you very much for making our district proud. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to echo these comments, but Ethan, I mean, it's amazing what you do every day to be the best version of yourself, right? And with the support of your family and you, Miss Abbott, and leadership team there at your school. I'll tell you, when I was a pronouncer for the district spelling bee, it's hard just pronouncing the word, and then for you to be able to, pronounce it back and then spell it correctly, that's amazing. So, congratulations again, and good luck to, all that you certainly aspire to do and be in your future, and just looking forward to your continued success. Thank you. Do you have any words for us?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Airy. Ms. Underhill, thank you for kicking us off here. So moving on to 4.2, board comments. Ms. Hill?
None at this time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Dr. Sorensen?
Nope.
All right. Ms. Underhill?
I did have a couple things I wanted to give a shout out to. I first wanted to congratulate the Sunrise Mountain High School varsity boys basketball team. They are going to be named the AIA 5A Conference, given the Sportsmanship Award, which is pretty amazing because it says that they were, it's voted on by officials throughout the AIA, and it says that those students were the best sports in the entire region. So that's a big deal. I'm super proud of them, proud of their coaches, proud of their parents, and just wanted to give them a shout out for that. Great job. And they also went to the playoffs and did really well. Also wanted to give a shout out to both Sunrise boys and girls soccer teams for their journey to the playoffs, and good job there, as well as Centennial, of course. So we've had some really exciting sports happenings lately. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you for that, Ms. Underhill. I do have one item that I'd like to recognize this evening. Over the lunch hour today, I had the opportunity to attend the Hometown Heroes Awards event at Rio Vista. It was put on by the Peoria Independent, the city of Peoria, amongst other sponsors, but those two were the lead contributors. But I wanted to bring light or uplift this event because a good portion of the honorees were PUSD associates, teachers, leadership coaches, and students, quite frankly. So I definitely want to give a shout out to, in the coach mentor category, Mr. Babb from Peoria High School was recognized. Mr. Sears from Peoria High School, as well as the Trailblazer. And the Educator Award went to Jennifer Cheeseman from Zuni Hills. And our leader of tomorrow is a student from Centennial. Her name is Crystal Bond. And Dr. Reynolds, she said she engaged with you. And, she said she wants to come back and be a teacher. Dr. Reynolds had a question for her at in their conversation, which was, who here wants to be a superintendent? And then apparently she rose her hand. So, but no, I just wanted to, again, just want to just thank the city of Peoria, the Peoria Independent, for putting on that event, and just really proud to understand how many of those individuals who are awarded today are honored today because of their contributions to, certainly to our city, but their local achievements as well, coming out of being a product of Peoria Unified. So congratulations again to those individuals. All right, moving on to 4.3, superintendent comments. Dr. Reynolds.
Thank you, President Sandoval, Governing Board, Cabinet, and our guests. You're going to hear a few repeats from our recognition. Earlier today, as President Sandoval just mentioned, the Peoria Independent hosted its first Hometown Heroes Awards luncheon to celebrate individuals in our community who have been recognized as a deserving winner. We are honored that 6 of the people honored today are associated with Peoria Unified School District. So I'll repeat a couple of these. Will Babb from Peoria High School, Crystal Bond, our student from Centennial High School and student body president, and serves on the Superintendent Student Advisory Council. Jennifer Cheeseman from Zuni Hills Elementary School, as you mentioned, is one of our teachers. Kimberly Muhammad, Peoria Unified alum. Jeff Sears from Peoria High School, and Dean Slack, a former grounds and maintenance supervisor for us for 30 years. And so we're, as you shared, President Sandoval, we're incredibly proud of all the awardees. So thank you for mentioning that. I'd also like to say thank you to City of Peoria Mayor Pro Tem Vicki Hunt for visiting Peoria Elementary School last week. She gave a presentation and collaborated with the Inspire project to generously donate 172 books to the library at the elementary school for Random Act of Kindness Day. So that was really cool. Peoria Flex Academy held their 3rd annual Unity Day last week. At this event, they featured interactive art, community outreach, and contemplation. PFA demonstrated that although we sometimes struggle, we are never alone. And that's a really important message. As Ms. Underhill stated, the Sunrise Mountain Varsity Boys Basketball team was selected as this year's recipient of the AIA 5A Conference Sportsmanship Award. The award is handed out annually in each conference to the team that exhibits the highest level of sportsmanship as seen by the officials. And we know how critical that is when we talk about skills, learning those great skills around sportsmanship is one that will stay with them forever. They will receive this award during the first time out during the 5A championship game on Tuesday, March 1st. So congratulations to Coach Gary Rath and the entire team. We'd also like to say a huge thank you to the Liberty High School girls wrestling team for winning the state championship. A really, really big deal. Had an opportunity to go down and watch a few of the young ladies compete, and it was truly spectacular. Bella Bocanegra is the girls' 100 pounds, 2-time state champion, which is really cool. Our Liberty boys overall took 2nd in their division, but we did want to mention that Carson Coy won the Division I at 144 pounds. We also had some individual Ironwood wrestlers who took home state titles as well. Marco Riviera Kane for the Division II 175-pound title, and Pablo Macias for the Division II 144-pound title. We had several other individual wrestlers who came very, very close in the girls and boys divisions, and we want to just congratulate them all. And our winter sports are finishing up. In fact, I think tonight, if I'm right, the Centennial boys basketball is in the semifinals, so that should be probably kicking off. You don't kick off in basketball, sorry about that. Tip off should be very, very soon. So we wish them the very best of luck, and I want to take just 1 minute. Dr. Kendra Bell is wrapping up her time with us here in Peoria Unified, and although she's going to be with us a few more weeks, this is her last governing board meeting. And so we wanted to take a minute and celebrate her and everything that you have meant to not only Peoria Unified, but public education throughout your entire career. The passion with which you do your work is remarkable. And a big thank you from me and all the things that you've done for Peoria, especially this last year, getting us through the Cognia. I'm not giving away anything yet. The Cognia accreditation process was a huge task. The work that you did on our strategic reset is just extraordinary. So thank you for your leadership, your friendship, and all you've meant for Peoria Unified. We wish you the very best of luck.
Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Dr. Bell, any last words? It's the final board meeting. I'm just kidding.
Wow, how long do I have? Thank you, Dr. Reynolds, governing board members. It's been an absolute pleasure to serve her in Peoria. Thank you.
Absolutely, you're welcome. Before we move on to our next category, there are a couple things I do want to recognize during this section of the agenda. I believe we have a couple of birthdays this weekend. Miss Underhill is one, and Miss Hobbs is her birthday. Was it today? So just wanted to say happy birthday to Miss Underhill and Miss Hobbs. Yeah, no singing. We want to make sure it continues to be a happy birthday. All right, moving on to public comment. 5.1, request to address the governing board regarding matters not included on the agenda. We do have one request to speak this evening. As always, I will run through our very quick housekeeping rules. The board president shall keep control of the meeting and require the speakers and the audience to refrain from abusive or profane remarks, disruptive outbursts, applause, protests, or other conduct which disrupts or interferes with the orderly conduct of the business of the meeting. Personal attacks on board members, staff, or members of the public are not allowed. It is inappropriate to utilize a public hearing, the public comment segment, or any other agenda items for the purpose of making political speeches. Engaging in such conduct and failing to cease such conduct upon request of the presiding officer will be grounds for ending a speaker's time at the podium or for the removal of any disruptive person from the meeting room at the direction of the board president. With that said, we certainly appreciate all voices, and this evening we have some comments from Ms. Jenna Lebrandi. Welcome.
All right, good evening. My name is Jenna Lebrandi. I'm a 16-year-old junior in high school and former member of Frontier Elementary School right here in Peoria. I attended Frontier from kindergarten up until 6th grade, and then I proceeded to go to homeschooling for the next 5 years of my life, which is what I'm currently doing right now. But today I want to talk about something that is very, very personal to me. It's the bullying that I dealt with during middle school that led really to the destruction of my personality, my academics, and really my mental health as I knew it. During my time at Frontier Elementary School, the school often viewed me as the picture-perfect example of what would be a great student. I got straight A's, I was loved for my constant smile and my willingness to learn, and I really genuinely loved to learn. But this love of learning was quickly ripped out of my hands because of what I was put through during middle school, which can be summed up as reckless students and careless teachers. Here's the thing. I understand that middle school students are going to misbehave. If I were here to just talk about that, I'd be preaching to the choir. It happens. But my problem is that my classmates would both physically and emotionally harass whoever they wanted, including some of the faculty during my year time in 6th grade, all day, every day, and the teachers did nothing about it. They might have received a quick lunch detention, but that was about it. The only real punishment that I observed was what happened after recess. If some of the kids were misbehaving when we were being lined up to go back into class from recess, we would have to get in a single file line and walk around the school for half an hour. That was it. That was our punishment. And whether you were a good student or a bad student, you still had to face it. And because my teachers did next to nothing to help me when I was being bullied, I lost everything. My grades plummeted from A's to F's, I was denied from the National Honor Society and Student Council, and my love of learning had vanished. I came home crying every single day because I had lost everything I once enjoyed about school. I became a shell of the student I once was. My question for you all is, have your teachers forgotten discipline? Have we failed as a school district to the point that we no longer punish the kids who misbehave and help the ones who are suffering? Because I can tell you firsthand that this punishment only made the bad kids happier because the good ones had to be punished with them. How is this justice? How is this within the best interest of your students? But, because of all this happening during the spring of my 6th grade year, my parents put the idea of homeschooling onto the table. I accepted the offer because it was better than anything that I was going through, and my entire life changed because of it. I went back up to straight A's, I was added into the Honor Society, and now I serve as president of my National Honor Society chapter, which I've been doing for the past 4 years. But I have a final question for the board, and I want you to think long and hard about it because I want it to be understood long after I've left this building. How many of your students have fallen through the cracks because your teachers chose not to help them? How many were not as lucky as I was? All your schools seem to care about is getting a ranking and pushing their kids through like sheep. And we're not sheep, we're people, not robots. And the basic expectation is that we deserve to be treated as such as children. We are children. And I don't know if that's too much to ask for, but I think it's important. So if you want to talk about this, I would be glad to give you my email address or my phone number, and we can go on to this further, and I can give you guys some of the insight as to what I went through and hopefully find a solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Labrandy, for your time. Appreciate it.
President Sandoval will have Dr. Davidson follow up.
Perfect. Thank you for that. All right, we had no items moved from consent, so we'll move on to Section 8, action items. 8.1, Citizens Bond Advisory Committee, purpose and timeline. Looks like Dr. Reynolds and Ms. Myers. Welcome, Ms. Myers.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the Governing Board, Dr. Reynolds, and community. Thank you for the opportunity to provide information regarding the Citizens Bond Advisory Committee's purpose, report dates, and meeting schedule. The Governing Board reconvened the 2020 Citizens Advisory Committee on January 27th, with direction to the superintendent to replace non-returning members. Per policy BDF, the Governing Board approves the committee's specific purpose, report dates, and meeting timeline, including the date that the committee will be terminated. This agenda item does allow the Governing Board to take action on these items before the first committee meeting. The purpose of the 2020 Citizens Bond Advisory Committee is to make a recommendation to the Governing Board regarding calling for a bond election Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. If the recommendation of the committee is that the Peoria Unified School District should go out for a bond, the committee will also recommend amounts to correspond with the recommendation. The district has been in communication with the following individuals to request that they serve on the 2020 Citizens Bond Advisory Committee. 5 of the members are returning from the 2020 committee, and 6 members will be new to the process. The committee will be comprised of 4 community members, 3 parents, 1 district teacher, and 3 district administrators. Kevin Molino, the district's chief operations officer, and I will co-facilitate the meetings. We will also have a staff member present to take minutes at each meeting. 5 of the meetings have tentatively been scheduled at this time, with the first meeting taking place on March 2nd. The meetings will be from 4 to 6 and will take place here at the district office and will be open to the public. The Governing Board will receive committee updates via a written report after each meeting, as well as public meeting minutes will be available to both the board and the community. The committee will provide a final report to the Governing Board with a recommendation on or before May 26, 2022, and the committee will terminate after the final report and recommendation is issued. And with that, this concludes the presentation. At this time, administration is available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Questions, comments, board members? Ms. Hill?
None at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen? Thank you, sir. Ms. Underhill?
I don't have any questions, but just appreciate your expediency in pulling this together and all the work that you're doing on it. So thank you.
Ms. Myers, Dr. Reynolds, so it looks like this is an actionable item, and in the recommended action, we're also approving the members that you just presented. Is that correct?
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the Governing Board. Policy does not require an approval of the members, but we have traditionally provided a list of the members in addition to the purpose of the committee, as well as meeting timeframes and meeting dates. So the membership itself is not required to be approved in policy.
Okay. Do you mind going back to that slide real quick? I think it was slide 3, if I'm not mistaken. Might have been 4. So we've been a district for over 130 years, right? And there's been a lot that has changed over those years, from, being primarily, I guess, positioned, in the downtown Peoria area, to just mirroring the growth, of the city as it continues to grow north. That said, is there a way to understand, in addition to, I guess, to add to the connection to Peoria Unified, to understand from a geographic perspective, where these individuals may reside? Because here's my point. I just want to make sure, we're the 4th largest school district in our state. Just mentioned, how we've grown from downtown to the northern sector. I want to make sure that the voices, right, of all those communities, are being heard and at the table. So, as we take a look at our footprint, I just want to understand how that footprint is being represented amongst the 11 individuals that are on this list. And that could be I guess I could request at the end, but if I write a report, I can request it at the end of the meeting. But I guess that detail, it would be great to have added.
President Sandoval, if I may, I can share a little insight, if that would be helpful to you now, that 6 of the programs south of Bell Road, just to use that as kind of a geographical marker through the scope of our school district. They are a cross-section of representation from elementary to high school to different areas from as far north as Lake Pleasant down to more southern geographical areas of our district.
Gotcha. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, and I was just going to say, one of the activities that we are going to recommend to the committee right away is to seek feedback from our entire community. And so there'll also be an avenue for community members across the district to provide that feedback.
Okay. No, and that's great. And Ms. Ari, thank you for that comment. I think, when we take a look at, even south of Bell Road, right? It's, I'm even looking at, south of, Cactus, right? And, we have some schools around the Grand Avenue area as well in 83rd, just making sure that, those communities and those sites are represented as well. But look, I know we've gone through this before, and I know everybody in this room understands the footprint of PUSD and also how our communications, addresses the communication styles, as well as potential language, barriers that, we may have in our district as well. Just making sure that we are speaking to the audiences that we're wanting to elicit a response from, and, not at them, if that makes sense. Okay. If no further questions.
And I would just add, we can add to, as we introduce this committee, both the members who've served on it in the past and new members, we can really emphasize the importance of that perspective and making sure that as a group we are keeping that top of mind.
No, and I appreciate that. I think, as this committee, seeks, look, we've had a need since before I was elected to this board, especially to build, new sites in the district. But, I think what we've realized over the last couple of years, I think there's been, some light shed on some needs that we may not have known of or been aware of, prior to the pandemic, right? So I do appreciate, and Dr. Reynolds, what you just said, is the intentionality of really, again, speaking to these audiences to really listen and try to stand in their shoes a little bit, to understand what is most compelling to them, as it relates to this particular process and the outcome and what that means based on the outcome, of PUSD and how that serves them. So that said, appreciate that. And if no further questions, comments, I do need a motion to approve the Citizens Bond Advisory Committee purpose and timeline as presented.
Then I move to approve the Citizen Bond Advisory Committee, Advisory Committee purpose and timeline as presented.
I will second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion by Ms. Underhill and a second by Ms. Hill. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes 4 and 1 absent. Thank you, board members. Ms. Myers, thank you very much for your time. All right, moving on to 8.2, second reading, policy advisory revision to current policy DIE, audits, financial monitoring. Ms. Myers?
Yes, and thank you. Good evening again, President Sandoval, members of the Governing Board, and Dr. Reynolds. The first reading of the policy advisory revision to current policy DIE, audits and finance monitoring, was on February 10th, 2021. Tonight serves as the second reading and the opportunity for the Governing Board, to approve the changes to policy DIE as presented.
Board members, any further questions or comments on policy DIE? Ms. Hill?
None at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen? Ms. Underhill? All right. I don't have any questions either, so I do need a motion to approve the policy advisory revision to current policy DIE. I'll move that we approve the 8.2.
I'll second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion by myself and a second by Ms. Underhill. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes, 4 yeas, 1 absent. Thank you, board members. Thank you again, Ms. Myers. Moving on to 8.3, second reading, policy advisory revision to current policy DJ, purchasing ethics policy.
Good evening again, President Sandoval, members of the Governing Board, and Dr. Reynolds. We have a second reading this evening. The first reading of the policy advisory revision to current policy DJ, purchasing ethics and policy, was on February 10th, 2022. Tonight serves as the second reading and the opportunity for the Governing Board to approve the changes to policy DJ as presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Board members, any questions, comments? Ms. Hill? No? Dr. Sorensen? No? Ms. Underhill? No? All right, I don't either. So we do need a motion to approve the second reading, policy advisory revision to current policy DJ.
I move to approve 8.3, the policy advisory revision to current policy DJ, purchasing ethics policy.
Second.
Ms. Contra, we have a motion by Ms. Hill and a second by Ms. Underhill. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes, 4 yeas, 1 absent. Ms. Myers, thank you very much. Thank you, board members. Moving on to 8.4, employee health benefits for the 2022-2023 school year. Ms. Vesley, welcome.
Good evening, President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for having me here tonight. I stand before you along with our benefits manager, Christy Davis, and Mrs. Myers, who have been working diligently through the budget team process. And it's that time of year when we bring our benefits to you and looking at any recommendations for the renewal process. So as an overview, what you see here are the 3 different plans that we have offered here in Peoria for many years. We've had the traditional PPO plan, a high deductible buy-up plan that is the $1,400 for the employee only, and then we've also had the HDHP, the base plan, which is the $2,800 employee only. And these plans have been in effect for many years in our district. I think going back as far back as 10 years that we've had these 3 medical plans. And they are offered to all full-time employees. Also, alongside our benefits, our medical benefits, we have the following as an overview for you tonight. We've allowed the virtual visits, and we've actually seen an increase in those virtual visits over the last couple of years with the current state that we're in with the pandemic. And so that's been a really nice opportunity for our employees to have that option when they couldn't get in to see their medical providers. We've also had the Care 24 nurse line that's been available 24/7. And you'll see the different areas below that Care 24 nurse line provides to all of our employees. We've had 2 options for our dental plans. We've had the Delta Dental, the PPO plan, and this is where our employees can choose their own doctors that fall under the Delta Dental. We've also had the Cigna plan. It's an HMO plan, and here this is where you may have to choose a dentist within the Cigna networking group, and then you need to stay with that provider. And you'll see the different options that they have with each. We've continued our vision coverage. We are with UHC. You'll see, again, what the plan covers. And we've also had the short-term disability. And if our employees elect the short-term disability, it'll pay, again, up to 66 2/3% of their monthly pay. We also continue to offer Colonial Life. You'll see that it is the accident, hospital, and critical illness, including cancer, the coverage for employees or dependents, benefits paid directly to the employees, and then we can continue that coverage without the premium increase if you retire. We also have the FSA unreimbursed medical. This is a flexible spending account. And this is where our employees can estimate what they believe they're going to use for medical needs, and then they can put that money aside. And we also have the FSA dependent care, which is a plan that our employees can use for dependent care, and those have been in place for several years as well. We continue with the Interface EAP, the employer services that can be offered: counseling, legal services, financial, counseling and planning, and that work life and wellness resources. We still continue the Allstate Identity Protection. This is an identity theft program. It is paid for by the district. I'd also like to remind you that the Interface, the EAP, is also at no cost to the employee. This is 100% district paid benefit. We also offer the MetLife, the legal plans. This is something that the employee can choose and that they would then pay that benefit. It is for legal representation. It could be for legal services, trust, wills, adoption advice, and other services. Again, we also offer the life insurance. This is a basic life insurance. And Peoria will pay up to 1 times your base salary up to that $75,000. We do also offer the optional life and accidental death and dismemberment to our employees if they choose to have optional life insurance. So now getting into the renewals. We want to share with you that over the past several weeks, we have been working with the budget team, and these recommendations have gone, I want to say, a minimum of 3 times to the budget team. We've had discussions, we brought some additional information back to the budget team, so all of our information going forward is going to be items that the budget team has addressed and has approved, bringing forth to you for further recommendations and for your approval tonight. So when we're looking first, the original district plan renewal this year had a 16.2% increase. This was due to some large claims, and our prior increase was 3.99%. Peoria in the past has absorbed that increase in the previous years, but we have seen that large increase due to some major claims that have come through over the last year and maybe the last couple of years. The budget team and administration, at this time, we are recommending that a portion of this increase, 8.1% of the employees' proportionate share, become the employees' responsibility this year, which then reduced the district's portion of that increase. And that estimated cost for the employees is going to be around $225,000. If you see also here, employees last received a premium increase on the PPO plan 9 years ago. That was back in 2013-14. And on the high deductible plan, it was 10 years ago. So we've been absorbing those increases, but it was time where the budget team felt that due to the large increase that we needed to start to split that with our employees. Another recommendation that came from our budget team is the removal. We're going to request that we remove that middle buy-up plan, the $1,400 buy-up plan for the 22-23 school year. This will have an estimated cost of about $400,000. And this is again, the $1,400 buy-up plan. Right now, there's currently about 400 people on this plan. They would then have the opportunity, when we have our open enrollment here in April, to choose either the PPO plan or the high deductible plan. The employee cost sharing of this removal of this buy-up plan will decrease our renewal to 14.57% and approximately $3.5 million. There's also a change this year from our carrier from basic to WEX, and that is for our FSA, and that is just an administration change through Valley Schools. And this is, again, a no-cost change. And one exciting area that we're looking at, the increase for the FSA medical pre-tax is going from $2,750 to $2,850 this year. So this is under our IRS regulations, where our employees can now put away more per the legal guidelines, the IRS guidelines. If we go back up and we're thinking about the high deductible plan, this was previously brought up for the 2021 school year, that there was a recommendation at that time to remove that middle policy. And when COVID hit, it was a determination made by the budget team that we did not want to make any current changes to any of the plans. So it's at this time that the budget team is making that recommendation to remove that middle buy-up plan and just have the PPO and then the high deductible plan. So when we look at the increases on our PPO plan, you'll see the employee only, the total premium will be for next year $686.72. And if we look at the Peoria cost, the increase to Peoria, you'll notice that Peoria is picking up about 86% of that. The employee will be paying 14%. You'll see the employee cost of $93.17, and then the increase to the employee is $6.37. You'll see the changes to the employee and spouse, employee and children, family and dual family. And again, all of these premiums are per month. And again, if you look at the bottom, the dual family, you'll see again Peoria is picking up about 73%, and the employee will be picking up the 27%. When we look at the high deductible base plan, the 2800 plan, you'll notice again You'll see the employee only. There is $566.99 for the individual. Peoria cost is $566.99. You'll see the increase to Peoria, and Peoria picks that up 100%, and it's zero cost to the employee. On this plan, it is worth noting that all of our employees that are on this plan are also eligible for a $1,000 annual district contribution and wellness incentive of $775. So on the middle plan that we are recommending that we not continue, they did not get that $1,000 annual district contribution. So I think that's another cost savings for our employees that all will be eligible for that choose the high deductible plan, the 2800 plan. And then again, if you notice as you go down, employee and spouse, employee and children, you'll see that Peoria's rate is 83%, and then the employee cost is 17%. As you go down to the dual family, you'll notice that Peoria picks up 90%, and the cost to the employee is 10%. With our ancillary benefits, you'll see that we are not having any rate increases to any of the ancillary benefits that are listed here. That's exciting for us as we continue to see that the only area that we are recommending is the medical area for the increase. And at this time, we stand for questions. I have Christy Davies here as well, should you have any questions for her. Michelle is also available for any questions that you might have regarding the financial part of it. And then this will be an action item tonight that we are bringing this forth for your recommendation and then your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Vesely, for the presentation. Board members, questions, comments? Ms. Hill?
I guess I just had a question about one thing, just curiosity's sake here. On slide 10, it mentions the removal of the HD-HP buy-up plan for the 22-23 school year, which I understand. But in slide 2, it mentioned that there was an HSA attached to that, or a possible HSA. So I guess I was just wondering, because I personally have an HSA, so I know you put money into it. So is that what happens to that HSA money for those employees? Does it slide over, or do they get paid out, or what exactly happens to those funds?
So President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, that HSA plan is employee owned. So that HSA plan would go with the employee. So if they transferred over to the HDHP base plan, the HSA plan would go with them. So on that plan, currently the district does not contribute anything. Anything in that plan was contributed by them, so it is owned by them. So that would transition with them to the new plan. If they chose to move to the PPO plan, they could keep that plan until the money is depleted, but they could no longer contribute to that plan.
Okay, I was just wondering what happens to their money.
Money stays with them.
What happens to the money? Yeah, because of the HSA attachment.
The district, yes, or they retired, that money still belongs to them on that card until it is depleted.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I think that was my biggest question about that. So thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
By removing that plan, does that just save us through administrative costs? Is that why that saves us money?
President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, it is an overall claim savings as the migration. So it's an estimate of where we believe the employees will transition. So as they transition to a higher deductible plan, there will be some claim savings as employees will pick a little bit more of that deductible in the out-of-pocket maximum. However, they will also see some premium savings because on that buy-up plan, for a family on the current buy-up plan, it's $620 a month. If they transition to the buy-up plan on the base, the HDHP base, it's a $400 a month premium. So they're saving roughly $220 a month there. Over the year, they can then put those savings pre-tax into their HSA plan, essentially lowering their out-of-pocket. They're just redistributing funds they're already paying into their HSA versus paying just to have a plan.
Right, so if I'm one of the 400 people on that and I'm healthy, then I'll go to the high deductible HSA plan. But if I have some health concerns, then I need to go to the PPO.
Well, and we have a plan in place to educate our employees where we will sit down and we will show them scenarios on if a situation happened on the PPO plan versus the base plan, what their cost would be, so that we can educate them and let them see which plan would be financially best for them.
Yeah, and I guess if we're saving money, then probably the people we're covering is they're, okay, never mind, that was a foolish question. And I guess one last one, is that annual, remind me, is that annual district contribution a match to what employees put in when you talk about that $1,000?
You know, we give the $1,000 and the employee does not have to contribute anything. We do it biannually, once in September and once again in January, so that they have some funds at the beginning of the school year and then they have additional funds at the beginning of the fiscal year. So they do not have to contribute anything to get that $1,000.
Okay, copy that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Ms. Underhill?
Just probably a very obvious question, but dual family, I'm assuming means both two members work in the district? Okay.
Yes, both employees are benefit eligible and are currently working for the district.
Okay, great. And just in general, so obviously this is part of our whole compensation package. How are we, kind of comparing to other districts around us in regard to our percentages and our rates and that kind of a thing?
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the governing board. I'll provide comment on our percentage increase. This year, it was significantly higher than in years past. For example, last year it was 3.99%. The year before it was 2.5%. So from an insurance perspective, rate increases can vary depending on claims. We had some significant claims that created the 16.2% increase. I can share that within the Valley Schools membership of all covered districts and employers, the average increase was 5.3%. So you can see we had an unusually high year, just as a point of reference. But across the board, we're hearing feedback, be it school districts or for-profit employers. There have been increases in healthcare costs and coverage that employers are providing. So we weren't surprised, but our history contributed to the more noticeable increase than what we've had in past years.
So by getting rid of that middle plan, then is our anticipation that we won't see that large of an increase in future years? Is that the hope?
It would not necessarily contribute to a renewal in the future. It would create a savings that we're estimating to be $400,000 a year. So with that, the $3.9 million that's associated with the increase, that would help reduce the cost to the district, and then roughly $250,000 is being shared with the employees, but it's a proportionate distribution. And as Mrs. Vesley presented, it's somewhat nominal overall as it's spread out. So our goal was not to impact our employees significantly with the sharing of some of the cost.
And so I suppose there's no way to know, to predict your claims increases year to year. I mean,
unfortunately, there's not. Our actuarial company does the best to see what is trending, but there's no way to predict what, unfortunately, an employee or a dependent will go through medically in a year.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. I'm going to assume that a lot of the claims that took place may have been, COVID related, right? Certainly over the last year. So that said, my question is around our ESSER dollars. Are we able to use any of those dollars to contribute more towards the increase than what we're contributing now? Or is that how we were able to contribute what we are?
President Sandoval, members of the governing board, eligibility of ESSER dollars for this type of cost is not really a use of the grant for these types of medical insurance costs from a eligibility perspective. So we're not looking at using ESSER. Instead, it would be a combination of a portion going into ongoing M&O expenses, and then a portion being covered as a one-time cost through indirect cost. And then thirdly, we would be working with Valley Schools to use a small portion of our net position. So it's going to be addressed through three mechanisms. and that's how we're absorbing the majority of it. Our hope is that some of that increase will come down over time, but of course you can't predict year over year, and that's why we're including a portion of the what will end up being roughly $3.3 million that Peoria Unified will be responsible for. A portion will be considered an ongoing M&O cost.
Gotcha. Okay. Can you go to the slide that shows the deductibles? I think it's like slide 3 or might have been. And actually, I guess my overarching comment is this. Ms. Myers, we've been tackling this for many years, since 2017. And for me, here's what I do appreciate and am thankful for is how the district continues to prioritize its people, over everything else, and how we're moving in that trajectory to do so. And one of the things is, providing a world-class compensation model, which includes, our health benefits. And I mean, some of these deductibles, there's no out there, they're pretty high. That's for, our associates who are making, a certain, hourly rate or a certain salary, and, and what those deductibles, I'm assuming, those have increased, right? Based on, the increases that we realize based on the increases that have been realized over the number of claims that we've had over the last year. Is that right? Is that how this is determined? Or
President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, the deductibles are actually determined. We only increase the deductibles when we've been required to by IRS standards. So the deductibles have remained pretty consistent. We did have an increase 2 years ago, as there was the increase to the $1,400. We were not required to increase those deductibles this year. So we only increase when we are required to do so.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I think, when we take a look at the increases that our associates will realize on the premiums, and then the, dollar amount of the deductibles, it's sometimes, in some cases, it could be cost prohibitive, right, to go and have a certain procedure done, et cetera, which is not good. I know there's a lot of external factors that go into this as well that, as a district, we, really don't have any control over. So that is going to lead to my final question around Valley Schools. And, I know we use them. I know they've been a strong partner of ours for many years. And, when you take a look at economies of scale, and that purchasing power, because they have other districts, within their umbrella, how are they included in this process to determine, where we're at today in these price points?
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the board. You'll recall I gave a comprehensive presentation in January, and we actually do annually provide an overview of our insurance groups with Valley Schools, including our employee benefit group. And with that, our renewal process has really two parts. There's a review each year of our activity as an employer and expenses related to coverage. And then there's the actuarial piece where the actual projections for the next year come into play, and hence if there's going to be an increase. So they work hand in hand with us. Every member district, founding member, Deer Valley, Paradise Valley, Peoria Unified. We also have representation with the CFOs sitting on the management board. So I do represent Peoria Unified by participating. And there is regular analysis on opportunities to try to ensure that the best product is being offered from an employee benefit perspective. So I can speak to that. I've seen it firsthand, and the renewal meetings and the partnership, Christy can speak to as well. They really are working hand in hand with us throughout the year. Do you want to add comments, Christy?
And thank you. If I can just make a quick comment, which I think will help, or maybe which you can include in your response. But, when we have a seat at the table and we're representing this district and, and all the associates that we serve, what is our voice like at that table, right? Is it Valley Schools really kind of dictating and telling us, what, the market is dictating and here's kind of, it is what it is? Or when we're in there, do we actually have the opportunity to provide input, right, in the conversation and, as it relates to, our associates and making sure that we're supporting them in the way that they deserve.
And if I may, President Sandoval, you're exactly right. The plan design is at Peoria's discretion. We're not told what we have to have. We are part of the discussion and the decision-making. And in this case, we're recommending plan design changes with that buy-up HDHP plan. Also, well styles, and I know Christy can speak to this, that's one way through educating employees and providing supports for healthy lifestyles and learning about how you can address things like diabetes and high blood pressure. Employers can actually help their employees become more healthy, which then ultimately brings down costs. And so that's another really powerful mechanism that has been celebrated with Valley Schools and all of their partner districts and employers that they cover.
Yes, President Sandoval, members of the governing board, Dr. Reynolds, Ms. Myers is exactly right. We have a very big voice when it comes to what we want to offer our employees. Recommendations are always made, and we do go back and say, okay, thank you for this, but we would like to see this. Where can you go with this? We can, with wellness, on all of our plans, all wellness visits are covered at 100%. So there's never a cost to an employee when they're going and getting that physical or their well check or immunization. So they continue to add as much as they can under the wellness umbrella so that there's no cost to the employee. We are also moving to expand the wellness program this year to all district employees, not just our benefited employees. So we want to start moving towards all employee wellness so that as we want to value all of our employees the same, not just if they're on our medical plan. So we will be expanding that wellness program to all district employees this year as well.
Perfect.
I'd also like to add, President Sandoval, members of the board, some of the changes that we see here tonight going from basic to WEX, that was also a direct correlation to not only Peoria Unified School District sharing concerns, that employees were having concerns with some of their communications or things that maybe they were dealing with, and not only our district, but also other districts. And so really Valley Schools started listening and hearing that there were these concerns with the use of BASIC. They then went and found another company that would support that administrative side to the FSA. So I would say that they are there to listen. We are a phone call away. We go to monthly meetings with them. They are here sharing. They really want to hear from the districts or the organizations that they serve.
No, that's great and good to know. And Ms. Myers, you brought up, the wellness, and I don't disagree that education and awareness about living, healthy, active lifestyles is a sustainable tactic, right? But that said, I do appreciate, you, especially in team, Ms. Myers, for always continuing to advocate, for the associates here in PUSD. So thank you for that. Sure, go ahead, Ms. Unruh.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, as we look at this, the costs, like for a family of like over $400 additional per year and that kind of thing, that we will obviously keep those things in mind as our budget committee continues to meet about salary and those kinds of things. And then also, I'm assuming that this is part of our M&O expenditures, is that correct?
The increase will be covered in part from M&O as well as indirect costs, because we're going to consider a portion of it to be one time. And then we'll also work with Valley Schools to use a small portion of our net position.
Okay.
So it'll be addressed three ways.
And these costs do go up against the aggregated expenditure limit, correct?
That is correct. M&O expenditures are included in that calculation.
Great. So I just hope that, as our state continues to work on that they will also consider these healthcare increases as part of that equation. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Board members, if no further questions, comments, I do need a motion to approve employee health benefits for the 2022-2023 school year. I'll move that we approve 8.4 employee health benefits for the 2022-2023 school year.
Second.
Ms. Kocher, we have a motion by myself, a second by Ms. Underhill. Board members, please cast your votes.
President Sandoval, I do have a question. Representative Pingarelli wasn't present when we convened the meeting, so she's not listed as a voting member. If I need to change that so she can vote on this, I can do so. It'll take me just a moment, though.
Sure, absolutely. Representative Pingarelli, do you have any questions around this subject for? Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you don't mind, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Are you comfortable voting on this line item? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Ms. Contra, for that. Do you want us to pause on the screen that's in front of us, or are you just going to add her?
I'm going to add her right now.
Okay.
President Sandoval, I apologize. I'm not able to add her electronically, but we can do a roll call vote, and I'll make sure it is reflected in the minutes.
Perfect. Let's do that.
President Sandoval,
Yay.
Representative Pingarelli,
Yay.
Mrs. Underhill,
Yay.
Dr. Sorensen,
Yay.
Mrs. Hill.
Yay.
Thank you.
All right, motion passes. 5 yeas. Thank you, board members. All right, moving on to section 9, discussion items. 9.1, first read of policy section JFAB. Dr. Davidson, welcome, sir.
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds. This item, JFAB, the change in policies you can see there on page, I believe it is 1, 2, 3, 4, is very similar to the policy that we approved in our second read last meeting. Last meeting, we focused on resident students. This time around, we are simply focusing on non-resident students. That is the only change, and I apologize for not bringing it to you last time together as a complete package. So thank you, sir, and governing board members.
Absolutely. Questions, comments? Ms. Hill?
No questions. Thank you.
Dr. Sorensen? Oh, you said no, sorry. Well, Dr. Sorensen, if you're just shaking your head and I'm looking over here, I'm not going to see it.
I wasn't looking at you, and I'm shaking my head, so poor communication on my part.
No, sorry about that, Ms. Underhill. Representative Pingarelli?
No, I've seen this before. Thank you.
No questions or comments from me. Dr. Davidson, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, moving on to 9.2, district budget update. Ms. Myers, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Good evening again, President Sandoval, members of the Governing Board, and Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for the opportunity to provide an update on the district's budget and considerations administration is managing at this time. Tonight, I will provide a K-12 aggregate expenditure limit update, as well as summarize continued work and considerations related to the fiscal year 2023 budget development process. At the end of the presentation, I will be available to answer your questions. I have previously shared that the K-12 aggregate expenditure limit is a 40-year-old spending formula that was approved in 1980 for public school districts in Arizona. This fiscal year, school district expenditures were projected to exceed the expenditure limit by over $1.1 billion. And this was in part, as I've shared before, due to really three things. Student enrollment had decreased due to the pandemic in 2021. increased education funding and restoration in recent years, as well as approximately $600 million of expenditures from Classroom Site Fund that used to be excluded from the formula, now being included. And so for the district to be able to expend previously appropriated dollars in our budget, the legislature did need to take action prior to March 1st. Let me try that again, with a 2/3 vote. Without action, as I previously shared, there would have been statewide cuts of in excess of $1.1 million, and for Peoria Unified, that was $43 million. That was at risk for the current year and would have been cut in the fourth quarter of the fiscal year. I can report tonight that the House did vote on February 15th with the required 2/3 vote to override the expenditure limit, and then the Senate voted on Monday, February 21st, with the required 2/3 vote to address the expenditure limit for fiscal year 2022. However, the aggregate expenditure limit is still in effect for next year and years after at this time. So it was a one-year fix. Administration has given periodic updates to the governing board related to the fiscal year 2023 budget development process, and we've included information that really the legislative work for the budget development for next year is only now starting. The AEL had to be addressed before some of that work could continue, and so we're monitoring that. And I did share previously at our February 17th governing board study session that the budget team was concerned related to not only the AEL, but some of the impacts related to fiscal year 2023, and hence they were not comfortable bringing forward recommendations related to compensation increases at this time. And so, as I shared on the 17th, employee contracts and letters of reasonable assurance will be issued on March 11th, but they will include prior year compensation numbers. It won't reflect any proposed amounts for next year. Recommendations related to employee benefits we brought forward just a few minutes ago, and they were approved. And we will be bringing forward a retention stipend based on longevity at the next board meeting for your consideration. I will note that that stipend is going to be primarily paid for from ESSER funds, not M&O dollars. However, the timeline for compensation increases and other budget recommendations has been slowed down, and we're looking now to make recommendations in the months of April and May. Administration has also previously shared that approximately 89% of the district's M&O budget is spent on salaries, benefits, and contracted staff. If the AEL stays in effect next year, budget cuts could be pending for fiscal year 2023. As administration and the budget team continues our work on next year's budget, we will need to look at some contingency areas because, again, there's an unknown, and it's difficult to bring forward recommendations when that unknown has not yet been addressed. And so if the AEL is still a consideration next year, the associated budget reductions would really require a district-wide evaluation of operations as well as expenditures to fully address any required budget modifications. And so examples of priority areas that we would look at are listed on this slide. They're not all inclusive. It's just providing where we're looking at from a contingency perspective as we continue to move forward with the fiscal year 2023 budget development. We have to be mindful that we could be in a very similar situation next year as we were this year with the AEL. And so with that, that concludes the presentation at this time. I am available to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Questions, comments, board members? Ms. Hill?
Well, thank you for the presentation and kind of getting us up to speed, and I am very pleased to hear that they did extend basically our budget for this year so we can actually make it through this year with the monies that we were expecting to actually have. So I am very pleased to hear that. And I think it's wise to be cautious. I know that they are considering, you know, obviously making cuts if they needed to, but I think we need to be very careful about how we do spend our money in this next year until we can kind of see what the future is going to hold, because we can't spend money we don't have, obviously, and we don't want to go backwards, because that's going to be more difficult, I think. So I think we're taking the right steps with what situation we have until we can manage these waters that are completely unknown to us, because we really kind of don't have a blueprint here. So thank you very much for putting this together for us.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
Yeah, I'm very grateful that the aggregate expenditure was waived. I still have yet to hear any logic or reason why it's still in existence, concerning the fact that it's so outdated. It's just, I watch the minutes and I watch the debate and I watch people explain their vote, and there's collateral damage. And that collateral damage hurts our district, because I can tell you other districts are hiring right now. This is the hiring season. And we asked you to speed up the process, and you did. And the people did the work. And for something outside of their control regarding an arbitrary spending limit on a budget that's 40 years old, sometimes people make comparisons between public and private. There's no private industry that would ever change a budget 3/4 of the way through with no massive effect just because the CEO in 1980 said they weren't going to spend people money. So this is going to hurt our district when people don't know what they're going to get paid. It's going to be more difficult to retain. It's going to be more difficult to hire. So I'm very grateful for the legislators and our elected officials who decided to waive it this year. But that political posturing hurt our district. And it hurts me that it hurts our district, because ultimately it hurts our kids, and because it hurts the teachers that we can put in the classroom. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you, Dr. Sorensen. Ms. Underhill?
I would just say, well said, Dr. Sorensen. Thank you for those thoughtful comments, and I agree.
Thank you, Ms. Underhill. Representative Pingarelli?
Well, I just want to say to Dr. Sorensen, there was no explaining the votes, because the representatives were told not to speak at all. We had asked numerous times about this. It was put on us 30 minutes ahead of time. And so the process was not followed at all. The rules were suspended. We did not get anywhere except a temporary fix. I voted no because of the way it was handled. And I've consistently voted no in the past when things were sprung on, even the raise for the legislature the last day. I voted no for that. I voted no here when the process wasn't followed. So I have been consistent. But I think that there has to be a permanent fix, and I will wait to see what the speaker, where we go from here. So, but I can assure you, the legislators were not kept in the loop at all.
Thank you, Representative Pingarelli. Board members, Ms. Myers, thank you for this, again, keeping us up to date on, where we're at with our budget. I do agree, Dr. Sorensen's words were certainly profound and certainly accurate. It is, I too am grateful that, we were able to continue ensuring that our young scholars are put in a position to be successful and led by those very individuals who impact our society on a daily basis, meaning our teachers and staff and leadership. So certainly pleased that, we're able to continue along that path and trajectory. And, I think, the long-term solution is, making sure that we prioritize, an entity, meaning public schools and education, in the decisions that we make, at the state level. And certainly just, again, it's an organization, it's an entity that impacts the success of our society, our community, and nation, and what we do as a district to ensure equitable success across all of our young scholars. I mean, we're open to everybody, and what we have to do on a daily basis, and not what we have to do, but what we do very intentionally on a daily basis to ensure that the differences that enter our doors are put in a position to be successful, but be successful as their best selves, right? So they come into our doors, no shields, and giving our teachers and staff and leadership the opportunity to truly look beyond what's right in front of them and step in other shoes, and again, just impact the character, of our state and nation. So again, thank you again for the report out, and board members, I do appreciate your comments, and we'll move on to the next item in the agenda. Appreciate your time. All right, moving on to 9.3, health data updates. Mr. Moss, how are you, sir?
Good. President Sandoval, members of the board, Dr. Reynolds, here again to give you information, and again, good news. As you can see, our numbers continue to decline across the last 3 weeks. To give you a little bit of perspective, 5 weeks ago, we were at over 1,400 cases and over 45% positive. So we've dropped dramatically. It is showing in the overall case rates. We've given you this information in the last few weeks. You can see there that the curve is declining quickly. It was surprising to me today in the number, that number 1,092, that black line is a rolling 7-day average of the number of cases that we see on a regular basis. That 1,092 cases that they're seeing is actually as low as it's ever been since July 25th of 21. We have never been below that number since then. So we're actually going down even further. As far as the school-wide, you can see again that our numbers are continuing to decline. In the last 2-week period, between the last two board meetings, we were at about 621 cases. We're down now to 198 that we're getting reported in the last 2 weeks. So we have, again, a 2/3 reduction in those numbers. No outbreaks. We have not had any instructional change reviews. So our COVID response team is getting a break for the last month or so of not having to go through that process. Principals, I know, are very happy of not having to track and do all the things that they're doing also. So we think that we've, knock on wood, turned the corner a little bit and moving on to education as we should.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Ms. Hill, questions, comments?
Well, you know I was got a comment, right? So yay, very happy, very happy. My question, though, is I am so confused and perplexed as to why we're still at a high level. I mean, I can maybe understand it like a month ago or so, but with the numbers as they are, we're like at 0.04%, type of a deal. I guess, where are the lines drawn? Because to me, I would think we should be, at a low level at this point, because the numbers are so low to me. So maybe you could explain to me, how the high, medium, low works and where the lines are drawn?
President Sandoval, Ms. Hill, those numbers were established whenever this started by the CDC, and basically anything over 100 is high. Okay, so I think 90 down to like 50 or something like that is going to be medium. There's substantial, and there's different things down below. I can get you the exact numbers, but 100 is the cutoff on cases. So it's we still got a little ways to go.
That's interesting. That's such a small number, 100. So I'm just kind of shocked. I thought, oh, for sure we'll be, at a medium rate at least. So I'm just kind of surprised, but I'm still very, very pleased to see these numbers and to see that we're heading into spring. So, we're coming out of flu season. So it's smooth sailing, hopefully, from here. So thank you very much for the information.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Ms. Underhill? Representative Pingerelli? There. Mr. Moss, no, thank you. Yeah, agree. It's good to see the the decline in the numbers for sure. So that said, I know we've been through a lot, and I just want to reiterate what I think all of us have said many times, is just thank you to the leadership of this district, everyone in this room, our teachers, staff, our site leadership, for what you really continue to do to ensure that we are fostering safe, supportive environments and have 100% focus on serving others. So thank you for that. Okay, moving on to Section 10, informational reports. 10.1, report on upcoming meetings and events. Ms. Ari.
President Sandoval, members of the board, it is event season, as we affectionately refer to it, and so you will see this list start to get longer each meeting over the course of the next couple of months. I'll also be following up with you in a Friday report with some really specific information about some upcoming events that are very traditional here in our district, which many of our more tenured board members are familiar with and have experienced, but some of our newer board members, with the interruption of COVID, didn't have an opportunity to experience. And so we'll be giving you a lot of details as well as information for RSVPing for each one. We look forward to seeing you at many successful events this spring. I'd like to highlight, if I could, one of them that's mentioned that was recently added, the Peoria Arts and Cultural Festival. I hope you all will save the date for that one. It's a fundraiser for the Peoria Education Foundation, as well as an opportunity to highlight the arts in our community, brings together many community organizations, and of course highlights our students. And we're very excited to bring this back to Old Town Peoria this year. It's on March 26th. We hope you'll join us.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Ari. Okay, moving on to section 10.10, legislative, state, and local updates. Ms. Myers?
Thank you, President Sandoval, members of the governing board. I don't have additional information to add beyond my update with the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. 10.3, budget, facilities, planning, and construction report. This report is on our website for your viewing at your convenience. Section 11, other business, board member opportunity to readdress agenda items. Ms. Hill, any items that you would like to readdress from this evening's agenda?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Hill. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Ms. Underhill?
No, thank you.
Representative, okay. I don't either. All right, moving on to 11.2, requests for agenda items for future governing board meetings. Ms. Hill?
None at this time.
Thank you. Dr. Sorensen?
No, sir.
Ms. Underhill?
Not tonight, thank you.
All right. Representative Pingerelli? No. I do have one item, and Dr. Reynolds, if you can help me out here a little bit, because it may be actually an extension to the study session that we just had. So here's my ask. I would like to further understand how we are leveraging, our Title I dollars, right? So we take a look at our Title I schools and, and how those dollars are being used at those campuses to ensure the unique needs, of those sites and those students. And it really, in addition to that, how our ESSER dollars may be used, when we talk about recovery and restoring, how those dollars may be used in a different way at some of those sites have different needs, right, than some of our other sites. I've always said all of our sites have a story, right? In our Title I schools definitely have some unique needs than some of our other sites in and around, our English language learners, IEPs, et cetera, students with special needs, homeless, McKinney-Vento, across the board. I mean, there are some other dynamics that our educators and our leadership at those sites, certainly it's important for them to understand and also have the resources to be able to, address those needs at those sites. So that said, I guess a future agenda item would be our Title I sites and what we are doing to ensure the success of those sites by leveraging Title I dollars and ESSER dollars. That, okay.
I'll second.
Thank you for that, Ms. Underhill. All right, moving on to section 12, 12.1, adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second that. Ms. Contra, we have a motion from Ms. Hill to adjourn this meeting at, looks like 7:31 p.m. A second by myself. Board members, please cast your votes. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you, board members. Thank you, everyone.